Excellent. So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a Wealth Warriors tutorial. It's a Zoom call, but it's not a presentation per se. It's a tutorial about how to carry out due diligence of online opportunities. Now, some of you may recall, or I may have sent you this information, that many years ago I produced a document, a PDF document about how to carry out how to carry out due diligence of online opportunities. If you haven't seen that, I think it's available in the Telegram group anyway. I produced it when I was working for a company called One Click Trading Systems, and that's really the basis of what we're talking about tonight. So this will go through all of that information, plus it will expand on it. It won't go into as much of the history as in that document. I think it's a fascinating read, but it's up to you whether you take the time or trouble to get hold of it and read it. So why am I talking about due diligence? Well, coincidentally, I've ended up with a number of skills and a number of bits of experience that all come together at this period in time to make sure that, or to try to ensure that we can analyze businesses to make sure that, or platforms to make sure that those we get involved with are likely to stand the test of time. Our whole business ethos is based on having businesses that are going to be around for a long time. We've had some success at that, not as much success as we would want. Hopefully we will get better at finding companies that are going to not stand the test of time, and we'll avoid them. But we shall see, because a lot of these things are very cleverly put together. So in my past working life, I've been a business consultant for quite a number of years, alongside a few other things. I've been involved in network marketing businesses and online, so offline and online, when online eventually came around. And but the consultancy business actually allowed me a lot of opportunities. One of the opportunities was that people would often come to me and ask about, do I know any companies? No, sorry, first and foremost, people would say, okay, look, this is my plan. I've started this business 30 years ago. I'm working towards retirement, so I need to find somebody to buy this business from me. Can you find somebody? Okay, and so what I would do is I would analyze their business in such a way that I would find out the strengths and weaknesses, the good parts that a prospective buyer would be interested in, and the bad parts we had to hide away and things like that, or at least minimize or address possibly. So then I would be able to go to prospective buyers and say, we're selling this company, this is what you've got, this is what we think it's worth, and then we take it from there. So that was an analysis from one side, and then word got out that I could do this, and a few people would approach me, or several companies approached me and said, listen, we're actually looking to acquire businesses in this sector, in this part of the world, whatever it is. This is what we're looking for. Do you know any? And then, of course, I would go and talk to companies and say, are you in a position where you're looking to sell? If so, I can prepare you and help you, get ready for, I know what these people are looking for and how much they're prepared to pay. So let's see if you're a good fit. So I got used to finding my way around how companies work, how they, not so much what they do operationally, but how they're set up, how they're formed, their working capital, the structure, the benefits of having that type of structure, the repute of management, all the compliance issues, the insurances and the regulations and the approvals and so on and so forth. So all these different things. So it was hard work, but you could, once you knew what you were doing, you could find out a lot about a company to determine its worth, which was what I was predominantly trying to do. So fast forward then until I was looking at businesses in the online sense, online platforms, looking for businesses that I felt were going to stand the test of time. And I find that this skill set was very useful for me, because I could see that, not in every case, but in a lot of cases, I could see there were red flags. If I looked at certain information or looked for certain information in a company setup, I could spot certainly some of the glaring scams that were out there. Now, what I found was I wasn't looking hard enough. In the early days of Wealth Warriors, I wasn't looking hard enough. So I got caught a few times, made a few mistakes, but learned from them. And so over a period of a few years, this due diligence process has really sort of bedded itself down. And dare I say, we are pretty good at it now. Not perfect. I don't think we'll ever get perfect. There will always be scammers out there who can that can fool us. I think that there's got to be a willingness on the part of the people to be fooled, but I think there's always going to be good, well-run scams that will take some people in. But hopefully we'll get better at avoiding them. So what do we want to do? Because at the moment, the only person carrying out due diligence checks on these platforms on behalf of Wealth Warriors is me. And I often have people approach me and say, listen, we've got this platform. Have a look at it. I think it'll be great for Wealth Warriors. And I look at it and I'm thinking, why are they in it? Let alone why are they recommending it to me? I'm not promoting this to anybody, let alone my loyal and trusted friends. It's just not going to happen. And then I realized, and it was kind of an epiphany, I guess, that what I need to be doing, and it came alongside an epiphany about Wealth Warriors in general. Some of you recall I talked about it last week and the week before, that we need to be treating Wealth Warriors more as a structured program rather than just a team or just a group to belong to. We should really start developing a system where we can enroll people, where we can teach and train people, keep in contact a bit better, have better communications and so on. And one of the things is I need to start imparting some of these skills to other people, to you guys, so that you can say, I'm going to have a look at this platform. Let's have a look. I now know what I'm looking for. Here's my checklist, or here's a list of things I'm looking for. And you go and you analyze a business or an online platform so that you yourself can avoid getting involved in scams and poorly run businesses. Okay, so that long before you ever get to the point where you say, I think I'm going to introduce this to Wealth Warriors, long before you ever get to that stage, you know that you're only going to bring me platforms that are likely to fly, that are likely to be suitable for what we're looking for. So that'll be good for you guys to avoid all of these platforms, but it'll also be good for Wealth Warriors to have more platforms that we can get involved with that are meeting our criteria. And it'll be good for me because it'll be less work for me to do in that field. Trust me, I've got plenty of other stuff to be doing to develop Wealth Warriors. So that's the ethos, if you like, behind what we're trying to do with this presentation. I'm going to try and teach you how I do due diligence. Now, you can do it any old way you like, but I think you'll be surprised at how much stuff actually needs to be checked and looked into as we're looking at some of these businesses. So before we do that, before we get into that, I'm going to share my screen with you, and I'm going to see if I can share my screen with you properly this time. And yes, you can see my screen. It says due diligence of online opportunities. And this is just a graphics that I had an AI engine run up for me that shows we have a checklist, or we have checklists. And some of the things we're looking for are certificates of incorporation. If it's a limited company or an incorporated company, then there will be evidence of that. So we want to check that evidence. If they've been in business for a little while, then there'll be financial reports. If the management team, if they purport to be an established management team, there will be evidence of that. Let's have a look at it. The formation records, if a company's been incorporated, there are approvals. Okay, there'll be audit records. There'll be badges for them to wear. They'll be registered on somebody's database. There'll be compliance issues to address. Okay, in some industries, you need to be licensed, you need to be insured, you need to have trained people, you need to have licensed operatives. Okay, so if they claim to be operating in those industries, we want to see all of that evidence. If they claim they've been around for a little while, then we want to see the performance reports. How well are they doing? What are they actually doing to make money for us? And the dividend payments, in fact, that's really the key question, isn't it, for these payments? Where's the money coming from? So they take our money. Well, maybe they do. So it depends on the opportunity. But let's suppose they take our money and they use our money to make some more money so that they can give us a dividend, a bonus, a commission, whatever it is, where's that money coming from? Okay, and I think that's the key thing, that if we can identify where the money's coming from and we can prove that it's real, then we're in with a chance. And if we can't prove that, then I suggest that we want to be saying, absolutely no, we're not going to get involved in this. If they can't show us where the money's coming from, in a way that to our satisfaction, and you'll find out a bit more about this in a minute as we do the due diligence, then we have a phrase in Wealth Warriors that I would like us to all adopt universally, and that is that it's better to be out of a platform wishing we were in than in a platform wishing we were out. Okay, that's just kind of our watchword. There are hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands and thousands of platforms out there that you can't bring me one single platform and say, if everybody does this, they'll all be successful. We don't need one platform. We need 10, 15, 20 platforms. So if we don't get into one, even if it's a good platform, we don't get in because we're not sure, that's not going to burn us. That's not going to break the bank. Sure, we've missed an opportunity, but 1 out of 20 isn't a big deal. We'll survive. Whereas if we get into platforms that we shouldn't, then every time those platforms go bust, it slows us down. And much as our system is designed to retain people, collectively, we're not very good at retaining people. Okay, and that's not a criticism of anyone in particular. I'll be the first to put my hand up and say, I'm not good at retaining people when these platforms fail. Part of the reason is we don't have a robust registration and communication system. So I've been looking at ways of remedying that. I haven't got anything concrete yet, but I know what the problem is. I know what the solution is going to be like. The solution costs a lot of money. And then, of course, once we have that solution in place, some sort of registration system, then we all need to use it. That's a different kettle of fish. So this is due diligence of online opportunities. And that's what we're going to try and cover. Come on, there we go. So nothing in this tutorial is given as financial or investment advice. We're not an investment platform, we're a community. And if you do decide to invest in any of the platforms we discuss in this presentation or any other presentation, only use money you can comfortably afford to lose. Carry out your own due diligence. Now, I've been saying this for a couple of years, but I would like everybody to be able to do due diligence in the same way that I do it, so that you're not just saying, yes, we're getting into the platform because Andy says it's a good platform. You can say, Andy says it's a good platform, therefore I'm going to do my due diligence. Yes, I agree with Andy's due diligence. Okay, I agree. Therefore, as an intelligent adult in my own right, I'm going to decide that I'm going to put some money into this project. Okay, not just do it because I said it's a good idea. Of course, if your due diligence is vastly different than mine, then there's no value in that. And you may even do a better job than me. You never can tell. That would be nice. So there's a couple of definitions I've got here. The first one I like is a due diligence is reasonable steps taken by a person to avoid committing a tort or offence. So nothing to do with business. It's the fact that we don't want to be out there in the world doing things wrong, where people are relying on us to do things and we get it wrong. We don't want to be offending people. We don't want to be committing an offence in the sense of doing something we shouldn't be doing. Okay, we shouldn't be promoting a particular type of business if that type of business had been outlawed in our particular jurisdiction or where we live. So this is nothing to do with how good the company is. This is to do with us and our relationship with our business entities that we engage with. We don't want to be out there promoting something if we've identified it's a Ponzi, or in fact, even if we haven't identified it, if just through laziness we've just said, "Oh, that we can make a lot of money at that. Let's get in and do that," and then we're promoting it to people, and 6 months later, everyone we've introduced has lost money. I go, well, that's okay. We don't mind because we made a lot of money because we were the first ones in. Okay, we don't want to be doing that. Some people do. Some people, that's the whole business model. Get in early, bring in a lot of people, make a lot of money, get out while the going's good. Okay, I don't want to do that. That's not what Wealth Warriors is about. I suspect you don't want to do that either. The type of definition of due diligence that I'm more familiar with is a comprehensive appraisal of a business undertaken by a prospective buyer, especially to establish its assets and liabilities and evaluate its commercial potential. So that's a good definition, but it's not really what we're doing. We're going to take all of that and we're going to assess a business to establish its. I did change this definition on the original slide I did, so I'll include that at some point. So we're actually not looking at the business as a prospective buyer. We're looking at it as some people who may bring other people into this. And in fact, if we're building Wealth Warriors properly, we will want to bring all of our community into every platform we get involved with. So we're looking to make sure that it's, that we're not evaluating its commercial potential. We're evaluating its viability and its longevity. They're the two things we're most interested in. Does it work? Is it legal, ethical, or moral? And is it going to be around for a long time? And if so, we can work with that. That's exactly what we're looking for. So why do we do due diligence? Well, there are too many scams out there. You've heard me say this on many presentations. If you were to look at, just choose 100 platforms at random, people advertise on Facebook or people send you emails about different platforms. Okay, you check all of those, and out of 100, you'll probably find that 97% of them are scams, and probably another 2 just so poorly run that they're going to go bust. And then you might find one that indicates that it's going to be shut down by regulators in the next couple of years. Maybe not. That's a rarity, but it does happen. So out of 100 that you look at, you'll probably come up with one that looks halfway decent. Okay, so these are the 3 different types of category that we're trying to avoid. One is scams. A scam is a business where people have set it up deliberately to take money from you. They know exactly what they're doing. They wave all sorts of shiny things in your face. Buy 2, get 1 free. Get in now, founders bonus. Get in now, founders position, early mover advantage. Put lots of money in, bring all your friends. Okay, they're probably scams. If that's how they're talking, they're probably scams. And what they're looking at, the scams are controlled by an algorithm, and it's a fairly simple principle to understand. The algorithm's quite complex, but the principle is that as people come in and they bring more and more business in, so the money in the company's coffers accumulates. But as people coming in are building businesses, they're earning more and more commissions. And so the company are paying out more and more money of this money that's in their coffers. And at some point, those 2 lines are going to cross. Now, that's the point that they will pull the plug. And so if they pull the plug too soon, what it means is they're not going to make as much money as they could have done if they'd just waited until those lines cross. If they pull the plug after that date, then they will be, or after that point, they'll actually have less money than they would have had if they'd have pulled the plug at the right time. So the optimum time is when they'll pull the plug and get out. And you can tell when this is going to happen. Very often you can tell when it's going to happen. One of the indicators is that you will, they'll say things like, buy 2, for the month of April till the 30th of April, buy 2, get 1 free. Okay. We're doing this special package, buy 3 and you get a free ticket to our webinar that we're selling for $1,000. Of course, it only costs about $5 to host you while you're there, but you think you're getting $1,000, so you put a load of money in thinking you're getting something for nothing. All these special offers, okay, we see it time and time again. There's some other things, but it'll come out in the due diligence as well. Okay, sorry, there are some other businesses that are poorly run and they go bust. That's true. That's always been true. Ever since business has been invented, some businesses are poorly run, they go bust. People are selling something that nobody wants to buy. They're selling at the wrong price point. Somebody else has bought out another business and they can buy something better, cheaper, whatever. Okay, so businesses go bust. So ideally, we want to try and identify that before we get in and put our money in. And there are some businesses that aren't scams, they don't go bust, but they do get shut down by regulators. And you can tell there are indicators as well that a business is likely to receive a lot of complaints to the regulators. And that's what triggers these shutdowns. If the regulators get lots of complaints about a platform, they don't investigate to say, let's see why this is happening. Oh, look, it's a good business, but these complaints are, what we'll do is we'll just force them to be a bit more open with their communication, communicate with their people a little bit better, have a proper complaints process, maybe offer restitution for those people that are complaining. And so they don't say that, they say, too many complaints, we're going to shut it down. We're going to seize all those assets. Thank you very much. Our government will enjoy spending that money for you. So nobody ever gets their money back. When a regulator shuts businesses down, the government decides to keep it. So why else do we carry out due diligence? We want to identify a proposed new platform fits into any of the above categories so that we can avoid it. And the point here is, this is the most important point. The biggest reason why we carry out due diligence is if we don't carry out the due diligence and then we advertise and we promote a business that is now fraudulent, it's a Ponzi scheme or whatever it is, okay, we are the ones committing the offence. And people don't like it when I say to them, and I don't say it very often, but I do say it sometimes when people are insistent. I say, look, that business you've told me about is a scam. I'm not getting involved. I suggest you don't. And I suggest you don't bring any more people into it, because if you do that, if you bring people into a scam, you are now the scammer. And strangely enough, people don't like that. But that's the reality. If we know it's a scam and we go and promote it anyway, then we're the ones that are scamming people. Okay, so none of us want to be in that position. The other reason we carry out due diligence is we have criteria. You've heard me talk about these criteria at least once a week for the last 2 years. And we want the criteria. So the only way we can check if we can meet those criteria is if we carry out due diligence. And again, when people promote platforms to me and I say, well, it doesn't even meet our very first criteria, which is, it's got to have a unilevel compensation plan. They go, oh, well, I know it's a binary or matrix or whatever, but, everything else is good. No, it doesn't meet the criteria. So there we go. And then there are platforms that meet our stated criteria, and they are suitable to be adopted by all members of the Wealth Warriors community. So we must avoid things that are involved with money lending and, I say, arms dealing, but sometimes platforms are involved in arms dealing. Maybe legalized, but some people just don't want to be involved in that. And then sometimes we say this platform isn't suitable for wealth warriors, but apart from these two things it doesn't meet for us, it's a good platform. People will make money at it. And then we say to the wealth warriors community, look, we're not adopting this, but it's a good platform. If you fancy it, get into it. Okay, so individuals then can adopt that, but that's nothing to do with wealth warriors. We're not going to get involved. We're not going to do any training or anything like that about those platforms. So what are our criteria? One is it must be available everywhere because, no, we'll come on to the because in a minute. 2 is it must have a unilevel compensation plan. 3, people must be able to join for free or get involved in a passive income program for a very low entry cost. So the reason we want 1, 2, and 3 is because by meeting those 3 criteria, we can maintain lines of sponsorship across all platforms. If you swap that out and say, well, we've got something that's a binary compensation plan or force matrix, or it costs $10,000, even $1,000 to get in. Okay, what that means is some people won't be able to get it. Some wealth warriors won't be able to get involved in a platform if it's going to cost them $1,000 to get involved. Okay, so we can't have that platform as part of wealth warriors. Number 4 is it must be based on real world applications. So now we're getting into the real due diligence here. We need to carry out this due diligence to make sure that it really is a real business, not just a numbers game or a shell game. There we go. There must be an opportunity to earn a passive income and an optional active or team building income. Now, this is important because a lot of people get involved in Wealth Warriors because we can offer them all of these different passive income streams. And the reason they like the passive income streams is because they don't want to introduce people to a platform. And the reason they don't want to introduce people to a platform is because what's happened in the past. And what's happened in the past is they introduced people, fell for all the hype, they introduced all their people. And when that platform went bust and all of their friends lost money, that hurt them a lot more than them losing money themselves. That's how you can tell they're a decent person. However, what we're proposing with Wealth Warriors is that it's okay to introduce people. We will not take lightly the fact that, you're going to be introducing friends who will be putting money in. We all need to be prepared to lose some money once in a while. We're hopefully going to avoid it, but let's be realistic. Sometimes we're just going to, things change. There are no guarantees. However, as far as possible, we're going to make enough money in all of these other platforms to compensate us for the one where we did lose a little bit of money. So hopefully people that have introduced people in the past to other platforms where their friends lost money, they felt horrible about it. Hopefully they will begin to feel brave enough that they can bring those people into new platforms with Wealth Warriors. We must all be able to get behind the project. So I said just now, no gambling, money lending, arms dealing, nothing morally questionable, unethical, none of that. Okay, it's pointless even going there because we don't want to leave anybody out. And number 8, we must be able to verify the company's legal status and its involvement in the real world activities. That's where most of the due diligence is done. So we have a process for due diligence. The most effective way is to have a process that follows a prescribed methodology. Well, there we go. There's a consultant in me coming out. So that's what I have, is a prescribed methodology. And if you're going to do this, I suggest you have something similar, something that you follow time after time after time, so you know exactly, you can compare one with the other, you know exactly what you're looking for. One of the most useful tools is a checklist. I've created a checklist for my own use. You're welcome to use it. And what I like about the checklist is I can use it to record all the information that I looked at, and it can serve as a permanent record. Because very often what I do is people say, well, what about this platform? And I say, no, I looked at that, I didn't like it. They say, oh, what didn't you like? And I just send them the document that I produced. It might have taken me 2 hours to write that document, but now I can just send it to anybody who asks. Okay. So I like that. I post those in the Wealth Warriors group. We have a section just for suspected businesses. We also have one for good businesses, where I post those reports to say this is a good business, but we're not doing it anyway. So always bear in mind, we may want to refer to this information in the future. So we need to be clear and accurate with the information we record. Okay, it's amazing. It amazes me how often people will write a sentence, even just one sentence, and I'm thinking, what do they actually mean? Did they mean to say that? They use the wrong word, the wrong verb, the past tense, the conditional tense, whatever it is. I'm not clear exactly what it is somebody's saying. Whereas if you read the posts that I write and the things that, the articles that I write, I am very clear and very precise with the things I say. So if I say you push the big green proceed now button, you haven't got to guess which button. I mean the button that's big and it's green and it says proceed now. Okay, it's not just, oh well, I register and click some buttons and end up on a page that doesn't meet what I'm looking for. Well, that means nothing. Okay, so we need to be precise with our language. And in fact, what I do, just a little tip, if you're going to write these types of reports, what I do is I write the report and then I don't post it. I just leave it, come back the next day, read it again, and correct all the mistakes, all the conditional tense, all the where I've referred to applied the wrong verb to the wrong noun and this sort of thing, which happens as you write a sentence. You go, or you change it and you go, ah, no, that verb means it should be talking about this thing over here. And it became separated during the amendments. It's easy to do, but you don't spot it unless you come back with a clear head a bit later. So the checklist is used to record some essentials about the platform. And we start with what the expectation is at the outset. So what does the company say they're doing? And now what we're going to do, once we know what the company says they're doing, now we can assess whether we think they're actually set up and in a position to do that for us. So we want to also record everything we looked at, what our thoughts were, and about the evidence that we've seen. So, for example, I looked at the certificate of incorporation. I checked with this database that there's no company. I found there's no company with this name. The company with that number actually belongs to a different company entirely. I checked so that's clear and concise information about what I looked at. I did a Google map search on their premises, and I found that it's actually a motel in the middle of California rather than a high-rise skyscraper in the middle of Zurich, for example. Okay, so looking back, there's no ambiguity about what I looked at, what I found, and why I didn't like it. And then finally, based on the findings, we need to make an educated guess as to the platform's suitability and the reasons for that conclusion. So here's I call it an assessment report. It's actually just a checklist that I produced. And so it starts off with the platform name, the date that I carried out the assessment. That's always useful because things change. The platform might undergo some changes in the future, and I can say, okay, they've changed. I might have to reassess it. The URL, obviously, the social media link. Where did we hear about it? It was on Facebook, was it on Telegram, was it an email? The basic operation. Now that's what the company says they do. So very often, not just cut and paste what the company says. There's 2 paragraphs all about how forward-thinking, high resistance, low calorie, waterproof, future-proofed, best investment business, looking after everyone in the world, making money for our clients. That's what they generally say, which is rubbish. It means nothing at all. But I put it in there because that's what they say. And then we have the criteria. These are our 8 criteria, the 7 that are numbered, the first 7, and then the assessment is actually criteria number 8. So I just want to put a check in the box there. Is it available in all jurisdictions? Is it a unilevel compensation plan? And so I go through and I check these boxes. And then I carry out the due diligence by going through anything I can find. And it generally starts with their website. We'll see this in a minute. It generally starts with their website. And from there, whatever information they provide to me, I want to try and verify that. And if I can't verify it, I write in the assessment, they claim to be involved in the oil and gas industry, but I can see no proof of that. There's no registrations. There's no indication of who their oil brokers are, who their gas brokers are, what jurisdictions they work in, what insurances they've got, what legislations they comply with. Okay, so that sort of thing. So it's as important to write down all the things you can't verify as it is the things that you can. And then, of course, the conclusion. In my opinion, this is a good company, and we should all get, we should release it to wealth warriors as quickly as possible. Okay, or this is a good business, but it's not suitable for wealth warriors. You can see it doesn't meet all of our criteria, but some people are going to make a lot of money of this, so we should put it out for individuals to get involved if they want to. Whatever our conclusion is, that's where the conclusion goes. Okay, so that's that. Let's go to the, just going to take a few seconds now, getting one of these checklists up. I tried doing this the other day and the whole thing crashed on me. So I'm just going to get the blank one up. And having got the blank one up, I'm then going to go to a website for a platform, and we'll try and fill in this form in real time. And then I'm going to share my screen, of course. Okay. Jufexinc.org. So look at that one. So this is one I was sent a little while ago, and I've been asked about 30 different times to have a look at this platform. They're called Jufex Incorporation. So the first thing that goes on our checklist is okay, where's my Word? There it is. Okay. Very often I'll just cut and paste this from the platform. We've got Jufex Incorporation. Today's date is the 8th of April. Again, a little tip, I always use that format for my dates because there are different formats in use. If you just use numbers, it's different formats in different parts of the world. So I always put day, month, year because the smallest, medium, largest. That's just how I like to do it. And then there's no ambiguity. Somebody in America can look at that and they know what date we're talking about. Somebody in the UK can look at it and they know what date we're talking about. So the URL is that. And the social media link that I got it from was yeah, it was the Telegram address. Then basic operations. So let's move this out the way. Don't let me forget to come back to that. I mean, I now start getting to a basic idea of what Jufex Incorporated is all about. So this is the home part. Start a free consultation, maybe. Let's see how it goes. So we have a finance investment. By spreading risk, staying informed, and maintaining discipline, we aim to secure a prosperous financial future for our investors. Isn't that great? That's exactly what they do. No ambiguity there. We always thought they did. Okay, I'm being sarcastic. That's rubbish. That tells us absolutely nothing about what they do. However, a lot of people will look at that and they'll say, wow, that's exactly what I'm looking for. Yeah, okay. And then profit increase through effective cost management, innovative strategies, and maximizing revenue streams, we've achieved sustainable growth and enhanced profitability. Really? I'm amazed. I didn't know people could do that. There's no proof, of course. There's no indication at all of what they've done to manage their costs effectively, what their innovative strategies are, how they maximize their revenue streams, and how they achieve sustainable growth and enhance profitability. There's no evidence for that. It's just words at the moment. And similarly, if we did this, so we could go through quite a lot of this stuff on the first few pages, maybe, and it all is just fluff and nonsense. It's just filler. It means nothing. So now we get to unlocking financial potential. So we're dedicated to empowering individuals and businesses. Brilliant. How do you do that? Well, they don't say. With years of expertise in the financial investment industry. Okay, so now they've said they're in the financial investment industry. So straight away, I'm going to be looking for approvals of some sort. They're going to need to be registered as an incorporated company. In the UK, there might be a limited company or an LLC. In America, they could be incorporated, an Inc. or an LLC, an LLP, something like that. And all of those entities need to be registered with the government. They need to be registered with financial controllers or financial regulators. Okay, they're involved in financial investment industry, one of the most heavily regulated industries there are. So as soon as I read that, that's what I'm going to be looking out for. So make a mental note that I'm going to be looking for that. So we carry out this critical analysis. We carry out comprehensive analysis, assess market trends, risk factors, and client objectives. Okay, for wealth accumulation, asset diversification, again, fluff and nonsense, just words that it doesn't mean anything. How do you do it? Is what we're trying to find out. Our team of professionals prioritizes transparency. So we've got to see a team of seasoned professionals. Therefore, if they're seasoned professionals in the finance industry or in trading or in brokerage, anything like that, they will have a history in that industry. I'll be able to find somebody worked at Goldman Sachs or World Bank or something. Okay, so when we start looking into this team of seasoned professionals, I'll be able to find out who they are, what their credentials are, and their education, and their assurances, and their approvals, and all these things. Okay, so that's two different things I've looked at now. One is they are involved in that industry. Two is we have seasoned professionals, so I should expect them to prove that. And then we have long-term relationships, which is fluff and nonsense. Again, it doesn't mean anything. Possibly they'll have some endorsement from people that have been with them for 10 years, 20 years, whatever. That would indicate that. But anybody can spout off words. So let's have a look now at filling in the checklist or the assessment report. So the basic operation is UFX Incorporation claims to be involved in the financial industry with a team of seasoned professionals. Now, the reason I haven't copied everything is because most of those things that I read out to you can't be checked. They're just, I said it several times, they're just fluff and nonsense. Doesn't mean anything. You can't check most of those things, but the things we can check, they're involved in the financial industry and they have a team of seasoned professionals. So that's kind of where we're going to come back to later. So is it available in all jurisdictions? Well, we don't know. We'll come back to that. So how does it work? We start by comprehensively understanding your financial objectives and risk tolerance. Okay, so I'll expect to see some sort of approved and verifiable risk tolerance statements to prove that they've actually taken you through a process, and typically a risk assessment process with the financial in the financial industry will be something like a 10-page checklist. You'll have about 30 different questions to answer. Even if it's multiple choice, they want to try and assess your attitude towards risk. It's so many different areas, so many factors now that they don't really need that to provide good customer service to you. They need that because they may need to prove to the regulators that they did this, because if they say they do this and they don't do this, they can go to jail. Okay, so there we go. We're going to start by comprehensively understanding financial objectives and risk tolerance. I'm now going to add that to my checklist. They claim to carry out a comprehensive risk tolerance assessment. And again, we can comprehensive. Yeah, so again, it's something we can check. Tailored investment. Using advanced market research and analysis, we craft a personalized investment strategy to optimize returns while minimizing risk. Okay, so it'll be interesting to see how they do that. They haven't got to reveal to us what the advanced market research analysis is, but we do want to see that they've produced a personalized investment strategy. So I'm going to just copy all of that and stick it into my assessment report. And ongoing monitoring communication. They continuously monitor your portfolio, making adjustments, so they can make adjustments to your portfolio. That's very interesting. and keep you informed every step of the way. Again, it'll be interesting to see how they do that. So again, I'm going to copy all of that. These are all things that we can verify or try to verify. And I think that actually we end up very, very sadly lacking when we try to verify all these different things. So let's move on then, because time's getting on. Normally, I don't take this much time. I quickly, it would have taken me about 2 minutes to get this far, but I'm explaining it to you. So what people say about our financial services. So we have Thiever Hanks, manager at UIC. So who are UIC? What I would normally do now is I would go into search mode and I would try to find in LinkedIn or on Google either UIC. UIC could be anybody, anything. Let's have a look. UIC. I'll bet there's at least 100 different UIC or organizations that call themselves UIC. University of Illinois and Chicago. So is that guy Thiever Hanks? Is he likely to be at? So he's a manager at UIC. So that's not really academic speak, is it? Universities generally don't have managers. You might have the odd manager, but okay. So I'm suspecting that's not the UIC we're looking for. What does UIC stand for? Let's see. Yeah, so that's International Union of Railways. Interesting. UIC Services Limited. So we're not going to find this guy from UIC, are we? So let's see if we can find him from Thiever Hanks. Now that's quite likely because that's a very unusual name. In fact, they're all quite unusual names, which is interesting. There's no John Smiths there and Dave Brown or anything like that. They're all very unusual names. Thiever Hanks. What I'm expecting to find is that none of these people actually exist. Oh, caps lock. Thiever Hanks, no. Swift Chain. Manager at UIC. Oh, there he is on Swift Chain. After experiencing disappointing results with other investment firms, I decided to give Swift Chain a try. Interesting. Okay, so now we're into Swift Chain, which has nothing to do with Jufix, but it is to do with the guy who recommended them. Sorry, I could have stayed there, couldn't I? Let's read more. It'll be interesting. Because very often what these companies do is they plagiarize each other's platforms. Notice this guy, isn't he the same as this guy over here? Ah, look at that. Same picture on Swift Chain as there is on Jufix. Always a red flag. So how it works. We start by comprehensively understanding your financial objectives and risk tolerance. And using advanced market research and analysis, our team continuously monitors your portfolio. We should all be getting a little bit nervous about this now that we're not going to find the things we're looking for. Oh, look, there's Thiever Hex, and he says, as a small business owner, I needed a financial partner I could trust. SwiftJ not only provided sound investment advice, but also helped me navigate complex financial decisions, blah, blah, blah. So what does he say on Jufix? That'll be interesting. As a small business owner, I needed a financial partner I could trust. Jufix Incorporation not only provided sound investment advice. So if you got sound investment advice from Jufix, why did you need it also from SwiftChain? And vice versa. So let's have a look at what Osaz Brow says. I've been with Jufix Corporation for a number of years, for over a decade. Wow. And what does he say over here? I've been with SwiftChain for over a decade. Okay, so we're beginning to get the idea. This is a load of rubbish, aren't we? Let's not be too hasty because there's plenty more to be digging up. The other thing that I tell people, and I've been telling my clients for 30 years, is if you're going to post endorsements, make sure that people can find out who these people are. So if you were to post, excuse me, if I were to post an endorsement for my local double glazing window company, for example, replacement window company. So I have my windows replaced. I write them a nice um, review. I would expect them to put my name and at least where I live, Bittern or Southampton. Possibly, I'd be quite happy for people to have my contact details, my email address, because what use is an endorsement if people can't verify it? This is the best company I've ever met, said my mum. Okay. And I've actually, I could tell some stories about how I've actually seen that in real life. The people giving endorsements are your wife or your son or something like that. So yeah, all of these things, they're not worth the paper they're written on. In fact, they're not worth the electrons taken to put them up there, because nobody can come and check these. And as we've just seen, these people say exactly the same thing about every company they come in contact with. But let's just carry on checking, because I want to just show you a few more things. Now, what I would do is I would now write that up under assessment. I would start saying things like, I checked this endorsement led me to this other website. Interestingly, the websites are identical. The chance of them both being independent companies doing exactly the same thing, having exactly the same satisfied customers, is very, very remote. But so that's the first part of my assessment. And now I would start looking at this. Okay, so we have here Suwaiki Industry in Al Shuwaika, Kuwait. So I copy that. I would now go into Google, and I go into Google Maps. And as quick as Google get me there, we'd scoot over to Q8. Come on, Q8, where are you? Right, so it's having difficulty finding this, is that? Right, so we have Shuaiki Industries. And they're showing on this picture here a picture of the Lexus dealership. So this is an industrial area of Kuwait City in Kuwait. It comprises 3 separate districts: Industrial 1, Industrial 2, and Industrial 3. So what did they say? Where did they say they live? They didn't. They didn't give that much detail. They just said it's Shuaika Industry. So now they're trying to mislead us a little bit. This is the feeling I'm getting. They're misleading us into thinking they're part of Shuaika Industry, not that that's the area in which their offices supposedly are found. So we can't really narrow it down any more than, it's in one of these 3 areas. But let's just see what we can find out. So this is Shuaika Industrial Area in the middle here. So let's see what it says on Google Maps. Sorry, on Street View. Let's have a look. Plonk ourselves right down in the middle here. Now we can't get any closer because we don't know which of these areas it's in. But does that look like that's the London Shopping Centre? Does this look like the sort of place where you would have a multi-million-pound financial or company involved in the financial industry? To me, I'm going to say no, it doesn't. It doesn't look anything like the sort of place a company like this would be operating from. It just doesn't. It's a sort of in the UK we call this shopping, and oh come on, a retail park. This is a retail park. Fast food chicken joints and okay, so it's just not the sort of, and you'd be surprised. This is actually quite good for some of these places. You'd be surprised what you get. Sometimes you get people trying to run a multi-million-pound. They say they've got $500 million management under sorry, assets under management, and they're operating from a two-story for a two-bedroom flat above a chip shop in Croydon. Which, if you're not in the UK, let me just reassure you, is not the sort of place you'd run that type of business from. Okay, so I'm going to say no. This isn't. All they've done is chosen that address because it's an industrial area, and and it just looks like the sort of place nobody's going to. If nobody digs into this, you'll go, oh, Q8, big rich city, big rich country. It's an industrial area. Must be lots of money. Okay, without digging any further than that. What we're looking at here is I don't believe a word of this. And again, we're getting to the point where we might say I might be wrong, but I don't think so. All of these different things, there's not one thing is definitive. It's that there's a number of different things putting me off this whole thing. So we could also do a search to find out who owns Jufex. Sorry, Jufex. Yeah, Jufex Incorporated. Who owns that? So let's copy that, and we'll go to. There's a service you can use on the internet which is called Whois. And Whois should turn up who the owner of, or sorry, who the registrar of that database is. Now that's gone into the sponsored results. They're not really what we want. Oh, key detail. Okay. Based on available reports from 2026, Jufa is associated with fraudulent activity. It appears in databases tracking impression scams and is not a legitimate entity as indicated by list of reported scam companies from Crypto Legal. Now, if that was from somebody like Behind MLM, I would read the report and I wouldn't believe it. I wouldn't believe it at face value. I would find out what their reasoning is, because again, they write their reports Behind MLM and a few of these other people. They write their reports using conditional tense, using ifs, buts, and maybes. It's their opinion. It's not necessarily factual. Sometimes they say this website was only created, or this website is showing very low traffic. Well, yeah, we know the platform was only launched 2 weeks ago. Of course, it's got low traffic. So. But they say because it's such low traffic, it's not a legitimate website. Well, every website has to start somewhere. So there's not a definitive statement. They treat it like it's a definitive statement, but it's not. All of these things have to be taken in context. You have to put it all in the mix, see how you feel about it, what makes sense to you. Okay, but now these people, Crypto Legal, we can check those out. If they're a legal company, are they a well, they look legal, don't they? They've got the logo here with the the set of scales. That's fairly legal. But now, who are they? So we can start going through who these people are about us. Who are they registered with? Oh, they carry out due diligence services as well. So it's a blockchain forensic and legal service based in the United Kingdom and the United States. We specialize in this. Okay, so if they specialize in it, they're going to have some approvals. There's our history, based in London. It must be good if it's based in London. Nothing bad ever came out of London. So James Ovuki is an experienced lawyer now. He's put his name down there. I would be able to check him. I'm not going to do this now, but if I wanted to, I could check him out through the Law Society. He will be registered as a lawyer and a legal consultant through the Law Society. Now, when I get as far as something like the Law Society, these government-backed companies, organizations, I tend to believe what they're saying. What they've written, I'd sometimes have to read between the lines. So I'm not going to take it at face value, but I do believe that they believe what they've written is true. Particularly if, in this case, he's registered as a lawyer. I believe he went to law school. He is a lawyer. He's got no benefit to telling lies, misrepresenting things, because he can get struck. He can lose his livelihood if he gets caught carrying out fraudulent activities. So these people look like a legitimate group of people to put together a what is it I started with here? I went to Dufex.org. We looked it up there. Yeah, and they said a list of reported scam companies. So did we get to that? I don't think we did. Crypto legal, there we go. List of reported scam companies in 2026. And we'll probably find Dufex Incorporated is on there because this, the AI engine here said it is. The AI wouldn't lie about that, but it could be wrong. AI is wrong sometimes, so you need to verify it yourself. Go through this list. Is Dufex on there? If so, then it gets written up in my assessment report saying that this company is well. In fact, I'd probably just cut and paste this. From that goes into my report, and then I would have a reference directly back to this list of reports, and I would say, and I verified it is on that list. Okay. So that's another nail in the coffin. Nothing's definitive, but it's looking pretty likely that this is a scam company. So what else can we check? Well, we can check white papers, but white papers are not brilliant because they're written by the company. But let's have a look at some certificates. What certificates do you think they've got? Okay, certificate of membership of the Blockchain Council. Any other certificates? No. Any certificate of incorporation, maybe? Maybe a certificate from the from FinCEN, I forget what the certificate's called, but it says that they're authorized in America to carry out financial transactions on the internet. I forget what it is, in the BBA or something. No, I can't remember. It's not that. But I know it when I see it. So they haven't got that certificate. They haven't got any certificate of incorporation. So I'm kind of limited what I'm looking at. Who can join the Blockchain Council? Well, you can go to the Blockchain Council and find out. And the bottom line is, if you send in, I think it's $50, they'll send you a certificate. So people saying, look, we have a certificate of membership from the Blockchain Council, we must be legitimate. They're thinking, you must be stupid. So that's worth nothing. We could go to the Blockchain Council, look up that certificate, see if that certificate is legitimate, and if it is registered to Dufex Innovation, we'll probably find that it is. For $50, why would you fake something like that? However, if we find a certificate of incorporation here, we would go to the organization that's issued that. So in the UK, it would be Companies House. I would go on the Companies House website, and I would put in that company number, and I would find out, does it come up with that company? Sometimes they put up a fake certificate, and of course that's a big red flag. If somebody's going to give you a fake certificate to say this is who we are and we're formed as a legal company, here's our proof. If they're going to lie about that, pretty much I throw everything out the door at that point, out the window at that point, because if they're going to lie about that, they're going to lie about everything else. That's really the only one thing that I say. If somebody puts up a fake certificate of incorporation, then we don't need to look any further. Everything else is nuanced, and I'm collecting bits of evidence. Right now, it's kind of looking very, very unlikely that I would ever get involved in this company or recommend it to anybody. So what else can we look at? If we do get a certificate of incorporation and it does relate to that company, then I'll start going into records. So let me just show you what I would look at. I'll show you on Companies House because I know a little bit about how to find my way around that. Companies House, personal information, statistics, get information about a company. I could have got there in a number of different ways, but let's just have a look at this. Start now. I'm going to. Oh, sorry, is that the one I want? Search and register. Company name. Let's say, what was the one I was looking at earlier? Oh, I can't even think of a company name now. Sorry, guys, my mind's just completely blank. I can't even think of a limited company name. Let's say NSSA Limited. Okay. This is a company I used to own many years ago. But now they're in 214 Burlington Road, New Malden, which I know that's true, but I could do the Google search on that on Google Maps and see if that's a likely address. In this case, it is. And also on this site now, so this is just the overview. And I can look at the filing history. So what I'd expect to see here is all of the different filings. Every so often, companies have to file things. So, for example, I can go right back to the very beginning, and I can look at their incorporation documents, view the PDF. So this is the certificate of incorporation. And this is what I'd expect to see on their website. I'm familiar with that logo, so I know it's very often I've seen certificates with fake logos. Instead of a rampant lion and a rampant unicorn, it's got, I don't know, a crocodile and a cockatoo or something. I don't know. So this just says that it was incorporated then. It's a private company. That's the proposed registered office address. These are the people that run it. And again, I can go into, I'll show you in a minute, but I could go and search. See, that's a very interesting name. I could go on LinkedIn. I could find Mr. Shanmuganatha, okay, as the managing director, and find out what else he's been involved with. This is a share capital. It's in British pounds, 1 share with £1 value. Now, if this was a big financial company, I would not expect anybody to be setting up a multi-million-pound company with £1. Now, you can do it. There's nothing illegal about it. But if you're going to set up a multi-million-pound financial company, you're going to start with several £1 million, several $1 million, whatever jurisdiction you're in. Okay, so this is just the same thing, same information. He's the only person with significant control. Very often you'll have a list of people. Again, you can go and check those people out. And then we get into the nature of control, statement of compliance, share capital. Okay, so that's kind of, there's information there about the incorporation of that company. So I'm pretty confident just looking at that company is a legitimate company. It's been set up in accordance with the laws in the UK. So we have a confirmation statement. Now, I'm not going to go through all of these, but a confirmation statement is different. It's a different type of document. And again, I can go through that and just check that it's been, just the fact that it's been filed is a good thing, it's so then there's micro accounts. Now, micro accounts just means they're not a very big company. So I could actually look at their accounts, the 2018 accounts, and see that they're actually trading, see that there's money coming in, money going out, what the money being spent on. The fact they're paying taxes is a good indicator. Okay, registered office address change. These are the sorts of things you'll see in a company's history. They've changed from 214 Burlington Road to 14 Elm Road, Chessington. So again, I could check that. Registered office address change. It's now gone from Chessington to Burlington Road again. So it's gone back again. That's an interesting thing. Confirmation statement. I was looking for some other types of documents. Annual filings and things like that. Maybe this is the wrong company. But something else you can do on this website is you can look at the people. So now he's the only officer in this company, and an officer in the sense of a regular, say, an incorporated company, incorporated body, has a specific meaning. It's not just somebody who works there, somebody who can be held liable for the things the company does. So if I wanted to, now I could click on his name and go see what other companies he's been involved with. Oh, he's been involved in Archie's Street Food, Archie's Kitchen Limited, and SSA Limited. Okay, so I could go now and investigate those companies. If I'm particularly suspicious of this guy, I could look at what his previous history is, what his previous experience is. If this were a financial company here, I'd expect all of these to be financial companies as well. And if not, what was his role? He might have been the financial controller in an airline, for example. So it's not really a financial company, but his job was to do with finances. So I can check all of those things. I'm not suspicious of this guy at all. He's not the person we're looking for, but that's what I could find in company, in the records of a company. Okay, investments. Now I might go into some of these and say, well, what proof have we got they're involved in oil and gas? Who are their oil and gas brokers? Okay, so we clicked on oil and gas, but we ended up here. So there's nothing to click on. It's not taking us there. So therefore, all of these links down here take us to exactly the same place on that page. So they show up in the investments here as different subjects, but they're not. They will take you back to this place here, which is rubbish. They're not telling us anything about what they do for any of those things, which, and again, that would all go in my assessment report, and that would be a big red flag again, because each of these separate things require a lot of information, a lot of approvals, a lot of regulation, a lot of registrations, trained and experienced people, in some cases licensed people. For example, real estate investment, people involved in that need to be licensed. Stock traders need to be licensed. Oil and gas, they need to be registered brokers, or ETF, maybe not. Tax planning, regulated up to the hilt. Risk management, possibly. It depends how involved they are, what they claim to comply with. Anybody can carry out risk management, but if you're selling it as a service, then there needs to be some sort of regulation. Okay, so all of that will get written up in my assessment, and I'm kind of running out of things to check now. But I do want to find something else to check. It's not on this site, unfortunately. Let me check a different site, because I know we won't find that on here. We won't find what I'm looking for on Jufex, even though that's the one that we're trying to check out. But I do want to show you this other thing we can do. Let's look at plan assets. I think that's the one. So let's change again. You see a sort of similarities in these things. We're honest, and we have partnerships, and we treat people with respect and diversity and long term, and you think it doesn't mean anything. What I'm actually looking for is some people meet the team, that sort of thing. So there are core values. That's nice. So is there someone we can meet the teams? I thought there was on this one. Corporate governance, diversity, equality, equity, and inclusion. Equity. ESG, responsible investing. I can check out any of those things. What I'm looking for is the team. Who's the team? About us. Yeah, so although they've got all these different menu options at the top, they all take us to the same place on this single page. Do they? I just misspoke. I think I misspoke. Who we are, strategic, purpose and values. Okay, I'll use this image anyway. It's not the one I was looking for. Very often you'll see meet our team, and there'll be half a dozen, maybe 10 or 15 or sometimes more mugshots of, here's our chief planning officer, and here's our chief investment strategist, and so on. What you do is you right click on the image and you search this image with Google Lens. What Google Lens is going to do now is it's going to find all the other places on the internet where this image has been used. Now, in this case, that doesn't have to be anything more than just a stock image, because they're not saying these are the people who work here. But if they're saying these are our team people, this is our chief financial investor, and you go here and it says This image was last used on Enterprise Nation, North Yorkshire Council small business grants. Okay, no, he's meant to be working for, in this case, Blan Assets. He's not meant to be working for North Yorkshire Council. Now, this we'll probably find this particular image is a stock image. So Blan Assets bought it, North Yorkshire Council bought it. This is one probably from the same set from a company called Unbiased. Okay, and that's probably the, yeah, no, there it is again, from the Telegraph. Somebody, this was posted in the Telegraph. So in reality, the Telegraph were probably the owners of that, and these other people have borrowed it from the Telegraph. Not a sin, as long as you don't claim that these are the people working for you, that's fine. But that's what I wanted to show you, is that very often these people will say, this is our team, and when you search the internet, you'll find that they're advertising underwear. They're advertising a blog in South Sudan. They're advertising, cars in California and all sorts of things, because people just take these stock images, and it's not a problem if you use a stock image for what it's for. But if you're now going to claim this person who last week was advertising jewelry is now our chief financial advertiser, chief financial investor or strategist, whatever the thing is, then that's a big red flag as well. That's quite a serious thing. Why would they lie about the people that are on their team? Okay, so let's go back to Dufex. Have we checked everything that we can check? If not, we're getting pretty close. I don't normally go and check out the white paper. Sometimes I do, because again, you go through the white paper and you can see it's just a load of rubbish. The investments they've got here are going to be exactly the same as the services. Oh, let's have a look at the terms. The terms are sometimes very interesting. Now, this is Dufex Incorporation. And here's the terms of use. What are you actually agreeing to? What are they agreeing to? What are they committing to? Nothing. The company are not committing to anything under these terms and conditions. They're saying if you use our website, products or services, you agree to comply, be bound by these terms of use. So there's nothing really there about what the services they're providing. It's just about the use of the website. Therefore, a big red flag. If you're investing with an investment broker, they'll tie you down to their terms and conditions. 2 pages of 4-point print, and there's a lot of stuff in there, a lot of legal stuff in there that may be relied upon in court. Here, this is rubbish. This is, if you use our website, we promise that we'll collect some information. We won't use it for anything nefarious. Being on our site, you've got to use our cookies. You're looking after this all yourself. And if we change it, we've got the right to change it if we want to. That's absolutely nothing. That's not terms and conditions. That's not the basis for a relationship between you and a company. That's a relationship between you and a website. Services, the services will just be the same things again, exactly. So those things that we looked at just now here, these 5 different things are exactly the same as the services. It's just rubbish to think that anybody would fall for this type of nonsense. So there we go. That's the assessment, and all of that now will be written up in my assessment report. I'm going to go back to, I'm going to stop the share. In fact, we'll go back to the room and I'll finish this off in person. So hopefully you found that useful. My report will be concluded with this company is not a legitimate company. They're not doing what they say they're doing. We don't know how they're making money. Don't trust it. Don't send them any money. Don't get anybody involved. And that's kind of what my conclusion would be for all of the above reasons. So this would probably run to a 2-page report. Probably take me about 2 hours. It would take me about an hour to no, probably about, in fact, I would have, with this particular one, I had the whole thing completed in about 30 minutes. But if I wanted to go into as much depth in the actual report as I did in this assessment that we've just done, it would take me 2 hours to look through it all and check again and check the next step and check the solicitors and this sort of thing. Write all that up. It'll end up as a 2-page, maybe a 3-page report. And hopefully then people would have access to that and they would know why, as wealth warriors, we're not getting involved in defects incorporation. So that's the end of what I wanted to do. The video's still running. So unfortunately, this video is now an hour and a half long, for which I apologize. If somebody could just pop down to Oregon and give Becky a shake, make sure she's still awake. And if anybody's got any questions, you can all unmute yourselves and ask questions if you have any. And if you don't have any, then you can unmute yourself and say, Andy, that's the best due diligence presentation I've ever seen in my whole life. I can see why you get so up on your toes about it sometimes.
For the record, I am awake.
Sorry, did I wake you?
Just slightly.
So, Becky, did you learn anything from that?
Probably not as much as you wish I had, because I pretty much already knew most of all of that. Because I've picked up a lot of stuff from you throughout the years, so it's it's pretty common sense. And a lot of times you can just I mean, like, I was checking one out from some random stranger who said, you really should get into this. And the first thing I checked was the company address.
Yeah.
And turns out there was no address. And
Of course, it's a legitimate company. I don't know where
and
they
I
are.
I just stopped right there. I mean, if they can't even get their freaking address straight,
Yeah,
then what's the point? You know?
exactly. Exactly.
You put a whole lot of effort into it, and I appreciate that. But sometimes it's just like, oh, really? They don't have this just one little basic thing that
Yeah.
every company in the world should have? Well, forget it, you know? So,
Yeah, no, exactly so. And of course, what we don't want to fall into, and I think we're getting good at this, we don't have to get into the mindset of we've got to get into it. It might be a good one. We've got to get into it. No, no, if it's a good one, it will come out in the wash. And if we can't prove that it's a good one, let's not do it. It's much better not to be in it and be wrong than to be in it and be wrong.
yeah,
That's
I
my
agree.
thoughts. That's my thoughts. So did anybody learn anything from what I was doing? Did it give you confidence to be able to do that yourself with any degree of well, like I say, confidence, any degree of understanding that you haven't missed anything, or if you have, it's not important things you've missed. The platforms you wished you checked out before getting involved, and this type of assessment would have revealed things to you. I'm not fishing for compliments. I'm just really wanting. I can't hear you, Sean. No, I'm still not hearing you. No. Sorry, can anybody hear Sean?
No, I can't.
No. Sorry, Sean. You could drop me a voice message in Telegram if you like.
How about now?
Ah,
No,
perfect. Yes. Yeah.
it wants my webcam. I thought it was great. I liked it a lot. I linked to that crypto legal website in the Telegram for us.
Yeah, sure.
I did that. I looked up Lumex. I looked up BitNex. I looked up Cryptex. I looked up all the platforms we've been involved with in the past,
Yeah.
and all the ones that have gone down are in their list.
Ah, excellent.
Yeah, I thought it was a good meeting. Very interesting info.
Yeah, excellent. Excellent. So now when people say, here's a good platform for you, then I'd expect to at least be able to find all the information I checked out here. So then what I'm doing is just trying to see whether it's a suitable platform, Are we going to get the returns we want and that sort of thing? I didn't go into too much about the what they actually do to make money. I suppose I did a bit. When we start looking at compensation plans and things like that, see whether the compensation plan is viable. That's just common sense, really. What sort of percentages are they giving us? Are they giving us a lot of big percentages, big returns every day because they want to attract us, get us all excited, get all our friends in, and that's their ploy to get a lot of money off us? And very often that's the case, earn 3% a day. Somebody was trying to get me into something the other day, 5% every 24 hours.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's a big red flag for me.
Yeah,
Two
exactly.
two things where they've got to have your money under their control, number one, and number two, where they make a guarantee of returns. I've never, ever, ever seen anything be legitimate that made those kind of guarantees.
Well, see, I don't mind companies having to have control of our money because there are some business systems that requires that. For example, if you're staking money, if you're not staking money yourself, which most people can't do, don't know how to do, they don't have the infrastructure to work directly on the blockchain the way you would need to do that. Then if you want to get involved in staking, you've got to give your money to somebody else. But as long as you know what the risk is, and you can say, well, I'm only going to put this much money in because I'm not going to get all excited and put, sell the farm and put the money in. Or Bitnex, for example, you know that you're not going to get your money back until the end of the contract. Well, that's fine. I'll only put a couple of $100 in them. So it's not, for me, that's not a showstopper. That's just a limiting factor. It's information so that I can make an intelligent decision that suits me. But I do get what you're saying. There are some things that are big red flags. Like 5% a day is just ridiculous. Nobody on the planet can guarantee 5% a day. You look at Warren Buffett, he thinks he's had a good year if he makes 35% a year. The most successful investor on the planet thinks he's had a good year if he makes 35%.
It's kind of scary.
Yeah. And then you got members of Congress over there that are making 200% a year. Nothing to do with the fact they know what the rules are going to be before anybody else. Nothing to do with that at all. I won't hear a word against any of them. They're all fine, upstanding, honest citizens.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, no.
Quick thought, Andy. I had to file my taxes this week, and I realized after my CPA said to me, "Where did you get this 15 grand from?" It wasn't. They couldn't track it. It was stuff that I had moved around or gotten pushed to me from other people in an effort to invest for them,
Yeah.
and that was taxable.
Was it?
Yeah. If I can prove the cost basis, it's cool. If I can't prove the cost basis, it just gets taxed. Interestingly enough, if you can show what you paid for it and what the gains or losses were, you have a cost basis. If you can't show the cost basis, you're SOL. You can just get taxed for it.
Okay, what about treating it as a loan?
I wasn't asked about that, but yeah, I mean, you know,
Yeah, if it's other people's money they've given to you, then
but you'd have
you
to
could
show
treat that
that.
as
I think you'd
as a
have to,
loan.
I told him that, but I think you'd have to show that as well. You have to show the blockchain address and tell who that came from. I think, I'm not sure.
No, you could do it just with a simple contract between you and the person who gave you the money.
Right, right,
I'm going to give you $1,000 and you sign the contract, and there you go.
right.
That's the basis for them giving me $1,000.
Yeah, yeah. A thought. I need
Yeah,
to start being more accurate with my logging of who's giving me what
yeah.
for what. And then if maybe they pay me the taxes if they're going to send it to me.
Okay. And are you involved in Republic of Old Souls?
I logged in, signed up under LK. I haven't done much with it. I'm
Okay.
kind of waiting to see, if and when you get paid. Well, I'll just say when you get paid. And I already have a trust after my late wife passed away. We've already got a trust set up for that. So we're.
Okay. So did you think about moving all that money into your trust?
I already have a trust
Yeah,
over
yeah, but
here.
the money that people gave you, don't receive it, you as an individual receive it, have the trust receive it. So they gave the money to the trust.
Haven't because
No, just a
it's
thought.
yeah, yeah, because I don't know that I could sign up with the exchanges as a trust. I usually deal with the exchanges, the bigger exchanges.
Yeah.
I mean, you have the Exodus account and stuff. I'm holding money over there currently, trying to, waiting on and figuring out how to work this stuff. But yeah, there's some stuff still to be worked out in the processes here.
Okay. Well, yeah, there's more ways for the government to get your money off you than there's anything else, isn't there?
That's right. That's right. That's right.
If money gets put into a trust, does that have to pay
No,
taxes?
no. The government has no control over a private trust.
Okay, cool.
But the point is, things that are in the trust, even though you might be the beneficiary of the trust, but the things in the trust don't belong to you.
Right,
You have the benefit of them because you can use them or spend them or whatever it is, but they don't actually belong to you.
right. They belong to the trust.
Yeah. In the UK, there's an advert that they run periodically. It says, so you put your house into a trust. Do you still own your house? The answer is no. The trust owns your house. So
Correct.
that's kind of the way it works. That's a simple message, if you like.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Okay, well, I'm going to stop the recording and I'm going to say I've enjoyed doing this presentation. Hopefully I won't have to edit too much stuff out. There's a little bit in the middle where there were the awkward silences when I couldn't find what I was looking for. I'll probably edit those out. But apart from that, I know it's been a very long video, but I think it's been useful information. And yeah, hopefully you being part of the presentation found it useful, enjoyed it, learned a lot, and hopefully people watching this by video will also enjoy it and learn a lot. And I think this is going to be a mainstay of our education going forward as part of Wealth Warriors. I think all of us should be able to do this with platforms we look at, whether they ever become part of Wealth Warriors or not. Just being able to carry out your own due diligence on your own platforms, your own businesses, your own investments, and everything else that you need to do. Hopefully this will stand you in good stead. It'll be a good starting point for you. So with that, I'm going to wind down the video and say thank you for watching and God bless. I'll see you on the next one.